Ink Ribbon.
Resident Evil 4, the game that divided Resident Evil fans, created new ones, and made Capcom a ton of money. Much like Street Fighter 2, Resident Evil 4 has been ported to almost every console you can think of, even the iPhone. I've done my research and I'm proud to bring you my list for the top 10 secrets and Easter eggs in Resident Evil 4.
Number 10.
Dead children. So it turns out that originally there were going to be children amongst the villagers, but they were removed from the game. Video games have strict rules about the betrayal of death of children, especially if you're the one killing them. So it's not too much of a surprise. One of the developers stated in a behind-the-scenes interview that they wrote in that children cannot survive Las Plagas, therefore all the children that were in the village before Leon got there were killed by it.
Number 9.
Ditman glitch. This glitch allows Leon to move 1.5 times faster in all animations, which gives him an enormous advantage against enemies and is often used by speedrunners. To do this, equip the Striker shotgun, then aim it and immediately open your inventory screen before you see the laser sight appear. Now if you equip any other weapon, you will have activated the glitch. There's a lot of use you can get out of this, like Leon knifing super fast. Enjoy.
Number 8.
Secret deaths. There are a few deaths in the game that many people do not know about, and I just wanted to share them here. First, we have the lake, where you fight the giant salamander. If you stand near the water and shoot at the fish, well, this happens. Next, we have some friendly fire from Luis. When you're fighting off enemies together, he will have your back, and even take a few shots from you. But if you shoot him too many times, this happens.
Adios, Leon.
And lastly, my favorite death, because it's the most horrifying one, involves the sewer bugs.
Number 7.
Minecart skip. You know that really long and annoying minecart stage? Well, you can skip it. First, activate the Ditman glitch I mentioned earlier. Then head over to the very right side of the minecart. Very slowly look left until the first possible spot the game lets you jump down. If done right, you will clip through the ground and are free to run through the level unhindered. Just know that when you reach the end, you need to be at the right height to get back on the ground.
Number 6.
Unused enemies. As with any Resident Evil game, there are a few unused enemy concepts that weren't used in the final game. Most of them are just rejected versions of regular enemies as shown here, but some of them are going to be special enemies. First is the Electric Man. There is literally no information about him other than this concept sketch. Next is the Parasite Woman. She shares an uncanny resemblance to Nosferatu in Code Veronica in her first version, but went through a few stages. Her design was reused for the Juavo in Resident Evil 6. Last is the Lurching Man, who was a prototype design for what became the Regenerators. It was supposed to have the ability to change its form, apparently turning into a blob or a liquid and back.
Number 5.
Movie reference. Once again, we reached the movie reference entry in my list as usual. The main movie references come from a really great movie called Leon the Professional. Aside from Leon being the name of the main character, Matilda is the supporting character in the movie and also the name of Leon's signature handgun. Also, there is the fact that the hardest difficulty is called Professional.
Number 4.
Recognize a girl in this photograph?
Use of Spanish.
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Spanish is my first language, so it was fun to hear the enemies in the game speaking a language I could understand and gave me a big advantage playing the game because 90% of the time the enemies are shouting what they're thinking or doing, which really helps you dispatch and avoid them. For example, means behind you, dumbass. When I first played the game and heard this, I was surprised to turn around and see that he was actually there, giving me a heads up that he was behind me. Now, one thing that caught me off guard is the dialect of Spanish they use. The location is supposed to be somewhere near northern Spain or Italy, but they are speaking Mexican Spanish, which really threw me for a loop, especially when slang is concerned.
Cogedlo, cogedlo, cogedlo.
Who are these people?
I'd discuss it here, but I don't want to get demonetized.
Number 3.
Beta versions. There's a lot of misconception about the cancelled build, now known as 3.5, but the reason is that it was actually 4 different versions. First, there's the 2000 build, which was repurposed into Devil May Cry. This was going to star Tony Redgrave, who would be the son of Oswald Spencer, and would have superpowers from being infected with the G-Virus. This eventually evolved into Dante having demonic powers. Then we have the Castle version. This was going to include Oswald Spencer as the main villain and would coincide with Wesker attacking the castle with the new virus, nearly killing Leon. Leon would survive, but would now be infected with this new virus and eventually discover the origins of the T-Virus. Apparently, he would have also had a female partner who would utilize a BOW dog to help in exploration. One notable thing is that a large part of the game would have taken place on an airship. One of the reasons for scrapping this version was the Black Fog enemy. It was apparently impossible to animate and Capcom just scrapped it, later using a version of it for Resident Evil 5 for Ouroboros. The team eventually decided to throw out the whole scenario but saved the girl and her dog, repurposing it for the game Haunting Ground. Moving on, we have the Hallucination version. This is that infamous build where the dolls come to life and had a Silent Hill vibe to it. The version had almost no backstory written into it. Shinji Mikami just wanted to try a bunch of new things, so introduced quite a bit, including the Hookman, changing environments, and a few other things. This is the build that the most carried over into the final version of the game, including the over-the-shoulder camera, red laser sight, suit of armor attacking, the struggle feature to break free, and an on-screen health indicator, which was a first for the series. One last thing I want to mention since I found it interesting is apparently at one point Sherry was supposed to be the one Leon was rescuing, but she was changed to Ashley. There is no explanation as to why, but I thought I'd just throw it in there.
Number 2.
Dynamic difficulty. One of the key secrets to the success of Resident Evil 4 was how its gameplay felt to its players, and it was literally a secret. Turns out the game has a secret dynamic difficulty, which adjusts how easy or difficult the game is depending on how you're doing. This changes everything in the game from enemy health, the amount of ammo you pick up, and even spawns less enemies in some places. And this was reused in the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Number 1.
Classic camera mode. You know how us Resident Evil fans are always complaining about how we miss the fixed camera views? Well, in the Japanese version of 4, there was an unlockable fixed camera view that used a dynamic static camera, just like Code Veronica. Now, while it's only for Ashley's segment, as far as I know, there are mods for other parts of the game showing that combat is totally possible with a fixed camera. And that about does it for this list. If you like this video, check out my other Resident Evil videos and consider subscribing to my channel. Also, don't forget to check out the community tab where you can vote on future videos. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.